so that we know where everybody's calling in from. I'd love it if you'd share one reason why local community is important to you. Look at all these angels on time. I like this. Thank you, thank you. Thank you for coming. John and Eric have some beautiful things to say in the chat. Okay. Welcome, welcome, welcome. A variety of wonderful souls to learn from. Indeed. I'm glad you're here. Oh my gosh. So for the folks who are new to this call and are new to the Neighborhood Accelerator, I've had the pleasure of getting to build neighborhoods alongside so many beautiful people here on this call. And I think we've reached a pretty good critical mass. So we're gonna dive right in. I want to start by just sharing a few words. So if you don't know me, I'm Savannah Kruger. I run the Neighborhood Accelerator program at Cabin. We have just completed our second cohort of the Neighborhood Accelerator program. If you were in said Neighborhood Accelerator program, could you give me an elaborate dance or some crazy jazz hands? I need to know the enthusiasm in which you bring to this call. Okay, oh yes, Tess with the jazz hands. Okay, and if you are someone who did not take the program and you have come to support people in the program, you've come to learn more, I'd love to see you now do an elaborate dance with your own set of jazz hands. Yes, I see you, Mitra. I see you, Mitra. Oh, hello. Oh, okay. I'm so glad you all are here. We're going to get started. If you're just joining us now, add your location and your name. I want to know where you're coming from and share something that is exciting to you about having local community. What's important to you? Why are you even on this call? Why does it matter? So here are just some pictures of the incredible moments that have happened over the last 10 weeks. People from Australia, from the US, from Israel, from all over Europe. You can't even tell how many different neighborhoods are being built in this network. We would have to zoom in on all these little locations, but there's a beautiful contingent of people that are out doing this work. So here's the plan. We're going to hear some stories from a few different folks, and after each story, we're going to celebrate the hell out of them. And unfortunately, the medium of Zoom will not appropriately facilitate our enthusiasm. And that's why I need you to bring it out even more than you would if you were watching a graduate. I need you to express more than you would if you were just kind of casually meeting someone and hearing their story, because the amount of effort and vulnerability and courage that each of these people have brought to the last 10 weeks has been deeply inspiring to me, and I know deeply inspiring to each of us. So this is our chance to celebrate them and celebrate each other. Many of the people on this call who've been taking the program haven't even met everyone else who's been taking the program, because we couldn't have them all on the same call because everyone has to sleep at different times because the world is round. So here we are. Some of them are seeing each other for the first time. We've seen each other digitally, but it's an exciting context. So I think my last invitation to you as the listeners, as the audience, is to, in the chat as we go, we got another, adding Ksenia here. In the chat as we go, if you see something that you love, in the same way that you would at a poetry slam, you would snap. You would say, you would say yes, you would cheer. We don't want to interrupt people right now, but instead in the chat, I want you to give that energy. I want you to be like, wow, I loved that. Or, Holy shit, that sounds really scary. So bring your thoughts, bring your energy to the chat as we go, and I'm sure the storytellers will really appreciate getting to read those back after they share their stories. Okay, so I'm gonna stop sharing and kick it over to Tess Nelson in Ocean Park in Southern California to be our first storyteller.
All right. I'm going to share my screen. Let me know if it works once I press present. Do you guys see the presentation, or do you see like my little
Hit that
note?
purple button, I think.
Oh yeah, there we go.
Yeah, that looks great.
Yay. Oh, I never used this. Awesome. Well, I'm so excited to be here with you all. This is just my people. I can feel it for those that I haven't already met. So again, I'm Tess. I live in Santa Monica, California, and I'm in a little pocket called Ocean Park. So a little bit about me and my mom, who taught me something called the open door theory, which I'm going to tell you a little bit about. So that's me on the left. But when I started college, my mom gave me this advice to leave my dorm room open during the day so others could casually pop in and introduce themselves. And so the first week of college in a dorm is one of those only moments when it's socially acceptable for everybody to be making friends. And so I've gone on to become a human development major, and I've made it my mission to recreate moments like those where there's an openness to meeting other people. So there's my freshman roommate. We had an open door policy, and there's a bunch of us and friends we made in college. So I have taken this passion of mine and I've used it and created little experiments of social engagement wherever I've gone. So many of you have probably heard of WeWork. I was a community manager there for 5 years, and it was my dream job. Many of you have probably heard of the horror stories or the crazy stories, but to me, my job was to create a social and professional environment for over 2,000 strangers in a co-working space. I got to make it fun, and despite what the Apple TV show depicts at times, most WeWork members actually didn't know a single other person's name. So I started something called the Lemonade Initiative. The Lemonade Initiative is based on when my family moved to California, our neighbor brought over some lemonade to welcome us to the neighborhood. And so I brought this to WeWork because nobody knew each other's names. So when somebody new would move in, I would personally ask their next door neighbors in their little glass cubes, and I'd bring them a big box of cookies and say, could you give one of these treats to your new neighbor and introduce yourself? And they were always so excited. And slowly I helped create and design and engineer these interactions for my neighbors to meet each other. I gave them permission to meet one another. Then post WeWork, I made the insane decision to get a full-time MBA in Los Angeles during COVID. It was a very crazy time, and after a fully remote first year, our class of 361 students fell into social groups based on their level of COVID anxiety or lack thereof. So when our second year started, almost everyone I met believed that everyone else already had this cemented group of friends except for them. And so again, I got to work with one of my little experiments. I engineered another open door moment that we called the We Haven't Met Yet campaign. We created a Slack channel, and in the channel, it challenged everybody to reach out to somebody in the class, say we haven't met yet, and then post a picture of them meeting, a little social proof that indeed our social walls were coming down. Again, hundreds of classmates emerged to become friends. They just needed that little bit of permission. Now, outside of school or work, how do you give permission to yourself and to other people to meet each other? So in 2023, I did what any good millennial would do, and I went to the internet. I tried creating a TikTok channel about me trying to meet my neighbors, 100 people in 100 days. And then I got to about 10 of them, and I realized I had made a bunch of friends and didn't need to go to 100, and also was spending more time editing videos than actually meeting people. And I tried a couple mediocre Bumble BFF dates, and I even tried making a sign on Canva to maybe make it out into the world to bring people together, and then I chickened out and I didn't post it. But then in 2024, I found Cabin, and it was the sense of permission that I needed to give myself at a nominal fee, a little behavioral economics, to actually go ahead and do it. And I posted that sign that you see on the left. So 10 weeks later, I have over 200 neighbors that have signed up. You're seeing a picture there of my first successful happy hour last in November, a couple weeks ago, that 35 folks, new strangers, showed up to. And then on the right, you're seeing a little screenshot of last night of my community potluck attendee list, where now we have 50 people that have RSVP'd and a 10-person waiting list. So I wanted to thank everybody in Cabin for this amazing experience and giving me the permission that I needed to design my community.
Let's give it up for Tess, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Ow, woo, 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 woo.
Yay.
Tess, you've been such a shining light in our group. I so appreciate you.
Oh, thank you.
I love seeing the story. Amazing. Okay, I'm gonna hand it off to Ian Howe in New York City. Looks like you're in a pretty special place, Ian, and we'd love to hear your story.
Yeah, that sounds great. Hello, welcome. Hopefully the audio's doing okay. You guys still hear me in spite of
Yes.
the shenanigans? Perfect. Welcome. This is Fractal, which is I guess a co-living community third space in New York City, which is like not too active right now because everybody's in the basement to do a final party where everybody brings their own record and then we start playing it, which should be fun to get around to later. Yeah, so I guess I moved to New York about a year ago, and was probably in search of some form of community. I found this one, and this one inspired me to want to go and like try to create local community in the building that I lived in, because I live nearby this area. Um, so about like maybe sometime midsummer, I wound up going in, and initially it was like overthinking analysis paralysis as opposed to like how do we build a community? What is it even gonna look like? Um, and then found I think through like some blog posts related to Cabin of someone who was in SF and they just like made this flyer and it was like here's a QR code to join a WhatsApp group chat and I was like oh that's genius and then I just copied the idea and then I found like these fancy little envelopes that existed on Amazon that I think are for wedding invitations but I just reused for my own purposes and then like all my little flyers, print them, put them in there. Then I taped them to the doors of every unit in my apartment building, which thankfully was only like 13 units because it's a little like 5-story walk up. And it worked. I had people like joining in my WhatsApp group chat. I offered to help like different people move into the building when I saw some people really struggling with a lot of furniture. And since then, I've had opportunities to have like multiple like little like coffee chats with people. Sometimes when me and my friends like host little prayers on the rooftop, we'll invite the neighbors to come along in, and they just like vibe right with the rest of us. So it's been a lot of fun adventure, and I'm excited for to come in the future.
Woo woo woo!
Yay!
Yay, indeed. Can I show them your a picture of your invitation?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, I don't want to dox you, so it'll just be a quick thing. But you guys just need to see how beautiful this invitation is. Let's see. Can you see, Matt? It's probably a little funny.
Oh my god, it's so clever. The QR, it's so clever. I
Yes.
love it.
I do
Yeah.
enjoy some shenanigans, and there was a point where I just went to my rooftop and took a giant blank sheet of cardboard and photographed myself with it, so I could just like Photoshop whatever I wanted to on the cardboard retroactively. So
I can't not smile when I
that's a fun
see it.
one.
Yeah. Yeah. The other day, I was telling my partner John, who's on the call, John Borichevsky, about Ian, and he was like, oh, "We should do that. Like, we should just do that again in our building, and just like get the new people." It's true. Okay. Well, thank you, Ian. Another round of applause for Ian. I made a little celebration for you. Okay. So, Laura, how do you feel? Do you feel ready to go next?
Yeah,
Okay, take it
absolutely.
away.
Great. Can you see this?
Yes.
Cool. So my neighborhood is in Noe Valley. By way of intro, this is me and my husband and our 1.5-year-old daughter. And my husband and I, even prior to us meeting, we've both been really excited about this idea of co-living in many forms, just generally community. How can we weave into our daily lives more proximity with people who share our values? So things we've done in that direction have included, I'm calling this transitory co-living, which includes music festivals, which includes, we would throw these elaborate weekends with friends that had silly names like Friends Fest and Funopticon and Nina Palooza, very deep inside jokes. We run a very culty camp at a regional burn in Vermont. We throw a lot of murder mysteries, actually more me than my husband. I rented a house with 5 friends during COVID, and learned many amazing things about co-living, including the fact that 5 people can have 7 types of milk in a fridge. Big pros and cons to co-living. And I've been following Super Nuclear for a long time, which is how I found out about Cabin and this wonderful neighborhood accelerator program. So kind of squaring all of these things that I know bring me joy about being proximity with people with wanting to live in San Francisco and wanting to buy a house. Our first effort was, great, we're going to buy a multifamily with friends. And we put a lot of effort into this. We, in fact, put in offers with friends. At various points, we were looking with 8 different friends for real estate. And what we ended up with is single family house living. So in a way that I've heard Savannah and others so well describe, we went from the concept of we're going to make our friends into our neighbors to this concept of, well, let's make our neighbors into our friends. And I set out about doing this and feel so lucky to have gotten a template from this group. The next slide has a lot of text, and I apologize, I was told not to do it, but this is more for myself than anyone, because I just wanted to codify that in some ways it's so simple. This was all I did was plan an event flyer, plan a communication channel, plan another event flyer, and there's now a WhatsApp group of 50 people that are all located around this one intersection I live by. I really wanted to make it very local. And what's happened in this group so far that's made me very happy has included the classic SF thing, my lemon tree made too many lemons. Please drop by and grab some. I'm giving away a grill. Has anyone noticed there's a lot of car crashes in our intersection? What could we do? Here, I have footage of the latest one on my door cam. Let's think about safety. Please come to my art exhibition. It's right down the hill from us. I love your paint color that you just did. Can you recommend a painter to us? I made some cookies. Can I drop by on my afternoon walk and share them with anyone? Yes, please drop by with cookies. And can I make you an Aperol spritz to go on your walk? This turned our walk into a beautiful, beautiful thing. And then my favorite one of our neighbors who's German is opening up her house to this whole group next weekend for Glühwein, which is her family's tradition. So just already in a few short weeks, this group has yielded so many benefits. I see people I recognize walking down the street. It's brought me so much joy, and it's made me much more excited to make a home in this neighborhood despite not knowing anyone initially. I'll close with a few of my very favorite things. Our neighbor's daughter is now the primary babysitter for our daughter. She's wonderful, and they have so much fun together. Another neighbor brought over this Advent candle, which you burn every night. So as I burn this each night, I take a little moment right now and think about how grateful I am to have neighbors who do things like bring over Advent calendar candles. So happy holidays. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you to the Neighborhood Accelerator program. And thank you, Savannah and Shani.
Oh my word. Give it up for Laura. Woo! Laura is such a gift. And what a great storyteller. Thank you so much, Laura. I'm noticing that we're like flying through these stories rather quickly, and I wonder, does anyone just like want to say a quick few words of celebration for Laura? Just jump in.
Yeah, I actually feel so inspired by this because similar to Laura, I've been in co-living situations for so long, thinking it was like the solution to togethering. And so it feels really, I noticed that it like feels really good in my body to hear her talking about like trying on all of these different angles and then finding Cabin and like the realness and like the tangibility of what she's speaking to, of like the touch points are real and these little gifts and these symbols, like you have a physical symbol in your house now of that, like my neighbor is thinking of me. Like that's amazing. What a wonderful feeling. So I'm feeling like inspired and hopeful.
Me too. Me
Thank you.
too.
I will always lust after co-living. In fact, I watched the Radish community video tour just last night and was like, oh, well, the dream. But it feels like I have some important pieces of that, and that makes me really happy. I think probably all of us on this call do, no matter our living situation.
Totally. Absolutely. And I think that's like my deepest desire with the work we're all doing as this network is that like we actually can retrofit the existing housing around us by building those relationships. That like we don't have to get a whole group of people to co-buy a big property, even though that is a very special direction. Like you can turn your neighbors into friends as we're seeing so many people do. Okay, well, thank you so much, Laura. I'm gonna kick it off over to Lauren now. And I'm gonna share my screen so that I can run Lauren's slides. So Lauren, are you feeling ready and able to?
Yeah, I mean,
dive in?
we'll see how the child feels about all this, but I'm like constantly relocating because I'm trying to multitask here. So we're just gonna hold the child and see what happens.
It doesn't need to be polished, and if James
Oh.
wants to say something, it'll be a contribution.
Beautiful. It won't be. So here we go. My name's Lauren. This is my child, James. Also on the call, my husband is John Hillis. And we live just north of San Francisco in California. So if you're in the Bay, please hit me up, DM me, so we can get together. Next slide, please. So here's just a little picture of our cute little town. And me and my kiddo. I'm a stay-at-home mom, which has been one of the greatest gifts of my life. And it can be super lonely to be with just your kiddo all the time, talking baby talk all the time. And John and I have lived a bunch of different places in the last like 5 years, a long time. And so we sort of have been missing like a core staple of friends who are not event friends. So an event friend is like the friend that you call up when you're like, let's go to a movie or like, let's have dinner. And I'm missing the segment of friends that are like the people you run errands with, or like they just come over and you kind of just like sit around and look at each other and like occasionally talk about stuff. And so I've been jonesing for more of those folks in my life, particularly because now I have this small human. And I'm like, where are my other moms also trying to find less isolation and loneliness and other humans to do this mom stuff with? So that has been my goal in the program. Next slide, please. So when I was thinking of what I wanted to do and how I wanted to do it, I was like, I would like to not reinvent the wheel. So what can I already use? And I tried two different strategies. The first is using the really incredible Southern Marin Mothers Club, which is a WhatsApp network really of a bajillion moms in my county. And they sort of organize these WhatsApp groups around different themes. So like there's a book club one, there's ones based on the town you live in, there's a stay-at-home mom channel. And it's an amazing resource in the area. And then I also tried Bumble BFF. That's not the place for me, but I think it may be the place for other people. So I wanted to highlight that it exists, that you could try to find friends on Bumble. And I think in some cities, that's a great option. So look into it if that's you. Next slide, please. So I tried to do a couple things. The first thing I tried to do was to show up in the chat frequently and as myself. So if someone asked a question and I thought I could have an answer, I just took a stab at it. I tried to be my personality in my comments so that if someone was like, ooh, that girl's funny, or like, wow, I also feel that, someone might consider reaching out to me. I would follow up with folks if they introduced themselves or had a comment that I vibed with. So like if anyone said, my kid is between 10 and 14 months, I would message them privately and say, hey, I'm Lauren. I also have this age kid. Like, let me know if you want to get coffee sometime. And that's been really exciting to see the outcomes of those private contacts. I wrote down what I learned about people. So like, if I was out and met someone and met their dog and met their kid, in my phone afterwards, I would write down all I could remember so that the next time, hopefully, I could call them by name or remember their dog's name or something that just feels a little more special than being like, oh, I've met you before. And who are you? I always appreciate it when folks remember me. I started doing a weekly walk for stay-at-home moms. So it's like same time, same place, kind of a time that works well for a lot of different ages in my town. And sometimes folks don't show up, but a couple people have. And so it's been nice to have something predictable every week. I can't remember where I heard this quote, but someone said, like, you don't call church to see if church is happening, you just show up. And so certainly my walk ain't no church, but the point being, like, when you can create something that people predict and that becomes a part of people's routine, they don't have to worry whether it's happening. They don't have to check, they just come. And so aspirationally, my walk becomes like a rock in people's calendar eventually. And then I did a couple stay-at-home mom versions of events. Like they had an evening book club. The time was a little too late, so I organized an afternoon version of the book club instead. And then just being out and about, we have this like bag of toys we bring to the park. We bring everywhere with us. And so if you just put toys out, kids just crawl over to you, and then their parents come over to you, and then they start talking to you. And so that was sort of like a hack that I didn't realize was a hack. And it's been really great. So if you're a parent out there, just bring toys and be in public with other people. Next slide. Thank you. I learned a lot, and it's been really great to be a part of this program. I feel super grateful, Savannah and the cabin team. Thank you for having me. Just showing up as my authentic self is, I think, the first best bet. Like, if you want to find people that feel like you got to be like you in the interactions you have. And so I'm going to look the way I look. I'm going to talk about what I want to talk about. I'm going to just like parent the way I'm going to parent and not try to polish it or make it different than what it is, because I'm seeking authenticity. And so I need to be that way to get that back for myself. You can just talk to people. Whoa! Like you can just, if someone has a cool outfit, you could just be like, your outfit is so cool. And moms love compliments. So when you compliment a mom and just start talking to her, it feels so exciting. And so I would encourage anyone to just like simply start conversing with someone and see where it takes you. I sort of was commenting on this before, but be real to get real. Like I think when you say something authentic, whether it's in a WhatsApp, whether it's in a conversation, it invites others to feel that way too. And so instead of being like, everything's going great, I'm doing awesome, I could be like, you know, I'm weaning from pumping and my hormones are going crazy and I'm feeling a little low. And someone will be like, wow, maybe I can show up with authenticity as well because you just modeled that for me. So that's been huge for me. And then the last quote there is from a Brandi Carlile song. But basically the idea is just like, when you are lonely or when you are like worried about where you fit, you're not sure how people are gonna receive you. And so if I can remember times when I've felt that way and try to treat people the way that I wish someone would treat me, so like welcoming them in, or if they're having a hard time in public, like, can I help them with their mothering at all? Can I compliment someone? Can I send that individual message and just be like, hey, welcome to the neighborhood, you just moved here? That's the stuff I would want to receive. And so I can just be that blessing for other people. I don't have to ask for permission to do it. I can just try to do it myself. Next slide, please. And it's cool to receive fun feedback. So not only have I made some awesome friends, but I feel like people are seeing things and feeling inspired themselves. So these are just 2 messages that I received from other moms that are in this mom group I've been talking about. And it just feels special to be like, yeah, I do have this vision of what my mom world can be like. And like every day I can try to do a little bit to make it happen just with the help of the program. So that's the mom world I'm trying to build. So thank you. Thanks everyone. Thanks, James.
Ow! I need you to come off mute and express your enthusiasm for learning.
Oh my God.
Yay! Yay! Hooray!
Oh, look, another baby.
Let's go, baby.
I love it.
Hello, beautiful baby. Wow, incredible. Christine's raising her hand. What do you have to say, Christine?
Lauren, I just wanted to say I'm like so happy to meet you and see you. You've been like a snuffleupagus for me for like years.
Oh,
And I'm just so happy to see you and know you. And it's wonderful. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you. I exist in real life, Christine, and I hope to see you soon in real life.
oh, good show. Good show, Lauren. I love the lessons and incredible reminders for everyone who's doing this work. I want to hand it over to John Hillis, who is Lauren's partner. I think your stories might weave together in an interesting way and help create that through line. Do you want to tell us the story, John?
Yeah, hi everyone. Lauren had the fancy slides and covered a lot of the work that she's been doing and that we've been doing in our neighborhood. And so I'm just going to share one quick story, about something that's happened recently in our neighborhood. So, we've had the pleasure of being able to host, big barbecue events and dinners and participated in tons of events in our neighborhood and our community, block parties and gatherings. We're organizing this millennial parents recurring dinner party at a local third space, and we meet families in the park. And I recently joined our local citizens tax oversight committee during this cohort to try to get more civically involved. But um, through all of those things, like Lauren said, we were participating in and organizing some of these like larger events. But my real core goal for this cohort of the program was not just to be involved with these larger events or larger processes, but I decided I really wanted to try to find one person who I could really deeply connect with and who I could become like a really strong friend with in our local area, because we have some really great friends in our lives, but the ones we're closest to don't live very close to us. And so that was my goal. And um, I got some great advice from another member of the program, Luke Madera, um, which was, he said, try to be as like specific and niche as possible about your interests and like put that bat signal out and see if you can find like the one person who's going to, have the Venn diagram overlap of like several of your interests. And so I tried to do that. I sent a note in our large community group chat, specifically to try to find another dad who lives close by to us and is interested in crypto. And I initially sent out the message in the group chat and just got crickets back. And it was like one of those moments that, is like you're so worried about having as a community builder where like nobody wants the thing that you put out in the world. And then one guy thumbs up and liked my post. I was expecting a slightly more response to that, but ended up reaching out to him, and he didn't really know much about crypto, and so I helped him set up his first wallet. And I was like, out of curiosity, like, why are you setting this up? What do you want to do? He's like, well, I'm trying to buy this Catzilla coin, this like meme coin, and I was like, okay, well, that wasn't necessarily what I thought I was like, getting involved with here. But cool, glad you're like finding your way. I'm not sure I'd recommend this one. Here's some like other things to maybe think about or look at. And so, then I kind of thought that maybe I wasn't gonna like find the person that I was looking for, or at least using that tactic. And then a while passed, and then after I thought that my post was just buried in the chat and nobody was gonna reply, somebody DM'd me, and it turned out that he was somebody that is an investor in the industry and seemed like a pretty interesting person to meet. And so we got together over a beer one night pretty recently. And we started chatting, and it turned out we knew some people in common. And then we kept talking, and by the end of the conversation, we were just like having a really fun time and diving deep into stuff and talking about our interests. And then it turned out that we actually have been a part of the same Burning Man camp. And he had been a part of the camp a couple of years before I joined, and then stopped when, his kids got too old, or when he had kids. And so, it was like this wonderful small world moment of like putting the thing out, into the ether and finding this person and realizing that like it was actually somebody who I was like very connected to and looking for in our area. And so, I think there's lots of forms of neighborhood building, and I think, the big events in the park, or just the meeting the neighbors, or having people you can say hi to, all of that is really excellent, and I'm so happy to have all of that too. And now I'm also really happy to have, this new person who I'm really excited to go deep with and spend a lot more time with, talking about our interests. And I'm hoping that I can continue to find more people like that in our area as well.
Oh, thank you, John. Woo! I love this story. You go, John. You totally go. Yeah, finding friends in your neighborhood is one of the most special things, in my opinion. Okay, I want to see, Bianca, are you feeling ready to go next? Yes, okay. I'm going to put I've made some slides out of some pictures Bianca has sent me about her recent incredible event, and I'll let you take it over.
Yes, hi. I hope everyone can hear me. I'm on vacation, so a little bit of a time difference, but hoping my little doesn't wake up while I'm doing this. So going back a little bit about me, I grew up in the suburbs of New York, but my grandma lived in Brooklyn, and I spent pretty much every summer and even some vacations always with her. And while I was used to not knowing who my neighbors were in suburbia, that was kind of just normal. When I went to grandma's house, everyone knew who I was, which house I belonged to. I knew where to go if I wanted the fire hydrant open because it was too hot, and where all the neighborhood kids would get ice cream. It was just such a great community. And so I had this thought of bringing back the 80s and early 90s with block parties and running through fire hydrants. My partner and I recently, about 4 years ago, moved back to Queens in city, and I was kind of anticipating that life again of just everyone kind of being together. And while there were many, many beautiful moments within my neighborhood, I just didn't feel that connection where kids were running in the street or riding their bikes, and neighbors just kind of knocked on each other's doors for anything. We did experience that when we had our daughter, who's now 2 years old, so 2 years ago. And actually through Cabin realized that I was kind of just putting out like live tweets through my window all the time. I had a felt board that I would just kind of make random jokes on, or like random announcements. But when my daughter was born, I had used it to say like, she's here. I had her birthday, her name, and I had so many neighbors come by, drop off food, drop off gifts, but mostly just like knock on the door in the time of COVID, mind you, to kind of just say, hey, if you ever need anything, we're here. And it was so great, but I knew that we could tap into that more because everyone was just wanting to give but didn't know how. So along came a message from one of my dear friends about Cabin, and she's like, this sounds like it's like exactly what you're looking for. This sounds like this would be perfect for you. So I thought planning a block party within 10 weeks a little bit too much for me. Especially as it was getting cold, but I decided to start by organizing a neighborhood cleanup. I thought maybe I could do my block and one other block. I live on a dead end, which is also another blessing, which helps foster community among us. But when I started down that road, I got a couple of negative feedbacks about how they keep stuff out. Different neighbors saying, well, I keep in front of my area clean. Why don't you just clean in front of your area? Everyone will do their share. And I was like, well, that's not kind of what I was going for. I wasn't trying to Definitely wasn't trying to single anybody out, and our block is way cleaner than many. It was more of a way to bring everyone together. So I pivoted and I thought about it, and I decided to make it a block cleanup and holiday decorating party. I went to the Dollar Tree and got some festive bows that we could put on the light posts and things around our neighborhood. And I flyered, and I actually thought no one was going to show up and no one was going to decorate. And it turned into this amazing event in which I set up coffee, and neighbors brought up cookies and all sorts of stuff right outside our house. We had sanitation involved, which was a great tip from someone at cabin to say that we talked to local authorities, and they provided the garbage cans and the brooms and everything. I met so many neighbors. I had such an amazing time. I nearly cried during the event. The bows out of beautiful parts of the neighborhood, but honestly, most people came out for the helping and the coffee afterwards. Everyone was outside for a very long time in 30-degree weather, which was amazing. But I think one of the biggest takeaways from this was that I think it would have been fine if I just went ahead with the cleanup, because the people who did not want to do it didn't participate regardless. And I think I allowed them to like almost deter me from doing this. The other thing that I really cherished the most were the people that couldn't make it but messaged me and said that they were so into what I was doing, and if I ever wanted to do anything else, and if they wanted to do potlucks, and I thought it was such a great idea. I have like so many messages and people reaching out, and that to me is like the biggest thing. So now we're working on developing our WhatsApp group and making it a little bit more robust for the future.
Let's give it up for Bianca. Come off mute. I need to hear it. This is such an incredible story.
So cool, Bianca. So cool.
The
So glad it
pivot.
worked out.
Your goal.
So good. Yeah, I wrote in the chat that I cried when I heard Bianca's story, and she said that she almost cried because, yeah, got to see like the play-by-play of her like pitching her neighbors and then being like, oh, we're gonna do it this different thing so that it's like framed in the right way. But yeah, I just feel deeply, deeply inspired. And I loved like the bringing people together for a shared project of beautifying the common space and like taking back the street, saying this is our street, this is our home. It's our shared responsibility to clean up the street. Like that framing that I knew you had was just deeply, deeply inspiring. So I'm super thrilled for you. All right, moving along. I wonder, Zoila, do you feel like you'd want to share next?
Sure. So I do not have any pictures or any slides. Sorry, guys. I haven't taken any pictures. But I'm Zoila. I live in Washington, D.C. in a neighborhood called Brightwood. And when I was starting to think about this, I was feeling a little bit struggling with sort of how to tell a narrative, because I don't really feel like we've experienced a full narrative arc yet. As folks in my small group know, I'm very early in this community building project and community building life. I had done quite literally nothing before signing up for the Neighborhood Accelerator. And we've only had one event so far. That's maybe the Royal We, I'm not sure. My second event is in a couple of days. So, wish me luck. But if you remember those like plot charts from middle school, they kind of go like, he's like you at the beginning, and then there's like rising action, like climax, falling action, and denouement. I feel like I'm like here. And so I don't have all the pictures yet. And I don't necessarily have a story yet about forming some of those one-on-one friendships, or like the neighborhood coming together to save the Christmas themed coffee shop that's going to be taken over by evil developers. But I do think I have some, I don't know, vignettes about shifting perspectives. And the first was really about how this community was going to come about. I am the type of person who writes down goals for myself at the beginning of the year. And for years, literally, I had been writing down, find a community, like find more community, get to know your neighbors, like blah, 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 blah. And I did put effort into that, but nothing was happening. And right around the time I first learned about Cabin and about this program, I sort of finally allowed my perspective to shift to accept that I wasn't going to find a community. I was going to have to build the community. unfortunately, the bad news, you have to do it yourself. The second shift was maybe a little bit in how I was going to do it. As you may have gathered from the write down annual goals thing, I do tend to be a person who actually makes the slides, who wants that A plus, even when there are no grades and haven't been and no one else cares. But I realized very quickly, to be honest, I just don't have the time or the capacity to do that. And I don't have like the mental and emotional energy to do it that way. So if I'm going to do it, I kind of like had to go in with the perspective of maybe not intentional messiness, but like embracing it or accepting it or realizing this wasn't going to be something that was, um, overly perfect, let's say. And I think that third shift was actually out of my perspective and into someone else's. Um, so before the first event, I knocked on doors for like about 3 blocks, and I've added another sort of block and a half since then, and left a bunch of flyers. And I do have a Google group of about 30 people. But I'm going to be honest, I am nervous about this event on Saturday. I was very loosey-goosey about whether you needed to RSVP, and the result is I do not have many RSVPs. And actually, someone canceled today. But one of the RSVPs was from a woman named Allison, who I actually did not meet and did not come to the first event, who said that she and her wife had just moved to the neighborhood and had gotten my flyer and were excited to get to know some of their neighbors rather. So it's sort of like from my perspective, I had to build it from myself, but maybe from her perspective, she did kind of like move to a neighborhood, and then someone showed up with a flyer and was like, "Hey, do you want to come to my house?" So hopefully over time we can really grow that into the community that we want. That's what I got.
And that's that. Give it up for Zoila, everybody. Woo! Woo, woo, woo! Yeah. Does anyone relate to Zoila's story? Like, did anyone relate to those like hard fears, those hard moments? Yeah, me too. I really appreciate your vulnerability there. A lot of this call has been like celebrating the wins of the journey. And the journey is also that. These are the stories of the real experience of it all. So I'm really grateful for you, and I'm excited for your event, and I'm excited for you to meet that neighbor and be the blessing for her, like Lauren said. Okay, I want to hand it over to Christine if you're ready. Christine, you want to take it away?
So I am going to tell you an actual story. Like I don't follow it. I don't never know what I'm supposed to do. So anyway, this is amazing. When I first got to Roatan, I live in Honduras. For those of you who don't know, I live in this place called Prospera. It's in Roatan on a Caribbean island in Honduras off the mainland. And so when I first got here, the co-working space that I worked in, there was this hand on the wall. And so you can all see that, right? Yeah. And
We can. Yep.
one of the first people I met, his name is Cass, and he is like this crazy biohacker guy who like puts implants in himself, and he also helps take care of the dogs that are in the village. So there's a lot of stray dogs or dogs that are just like kind of roaming around. But anyway, this is like one of the cutest dogs ever. And Cass is a good friend of mine, and he put together this rocket day on the beach with these local kids down in it's called Crawfish Rock. And I think that this is probably one of my favorite days from being here. So we got all these people together, and we had rockets and we launched them, but that was like not even the best part. The best part was the art, right? And so over here, is my friend Luis and his girlfriend Jazz, and they brought all the spray paint and just art, and like you can actually look at this picture on the right, and the kids are just like painting with green, but like you cannot imagine how amazing and excited the kids were to just paint with green. And like it's almost like you were with kids who had never painted before, and it was just so amazing to like be in the presence of these children that were painting green, right? And then Luis and Jazz are from a place that is on the other side of Honduras that is not a very nice place. And he is this like really amazing spray paint muralist. And so I get to spend a lot of time with them. And that's Jazz. And she doesn't barely speak any English at all, but I adore her. And these are some of the paintings, the spray paint paintings that we came up with in the end. And as you can see, like we were literally right on the beach. And the sunsets are beautiful, and we launched rockets. And then after this day, there's this, we had this party at the pool, which is at the top of the pool deck here. And that's my friend Tails. She's Honduran as well. And her name is actually Tails, Tails. And this is the party that Jazz came, and she doesn't speak any English. And there was all these, we played all this music, and it was so amazing. And she came up to me with her Google Translate, and she said, "I'm so happy here because I feel like I'm at home now," because we were having a party, right? And so that was like really special, amazing moment for me. And then this is Jazz and Luis, and they're like the central part of this story, because like these are people that I can actually barely talk to, but yet spend a lot of time with and have like this amazing bond of love. And so this is just one time we went out, just whatever we were doing. And like, again, I can barely talk to these people, but I adore them. And then this other night, because we had so much fun doing the spray paint art at the beach, I decided that I wanted to do it at Duna, which is where we live, with the adults and with the people that were visiting me. And this is Rich. He is like one of the guys, one of my really good friends here. And then you can see behind me, these are my own spray paint art creations. So I had no, like, there's nothing on the walls here, and I'm not going to buy anything. So anyway, we made this art, and it was just amazing. And then here's me and Luis and Jazz and my friend Jason. We went out for Luis's birthday. And what was really amazing about this is that there's only 4 of us, right? And so I actually took the opportunity to like pull Jazz aside and say, because there's no one here, right? Let's like really work the Google Translate. And I like found out all these amazing things with her. Like I literally sat with her for half an hour, and we just Google translated back and forth. And I found out about like her family and what she's like into fashion, and she's like a TikTok star. And like, I had no idea of all these things. And then Luis got a whole bunch of time with Jason, and we had just this amazing time for his birthday. And then this is again later on in the night, and you can see in the background there's some more of Luis's paintings. And then just the other night, this is us. On the left is a part of the mural I'm going to show you later, but this is like, I'm totally obsessed with this crab. And then on the right is this is like 27 people came to our dinner party, and 11 people RSVP'd, and I had 8 pizzas, which means I did not have enough food, and I'm Italian, and I nearly had a heart attack. But Jazz came in the middle of all of this, and Luis was really, really sick, right? And so she was like almost in tears, and like she was, with the Google Translate, and we were like, okay, well, what do we need? I have medicine. There's a doctor here, this blah, blah, blah. But it was like, again, this like coming together of people who can barely speak to each other, who share an enormous amount of love. And, Luis is feeling much better now. And this is the final mural. So if you remember, the very first picture I showed you was this hand, right? And this is what it looks like all together. And then over there on the right hand side is the little crab that I'm obsessed with. And then if there's anything that you can do or want to do, is like just like follow these guys in their socials, because they're amazing people. So that's it. That's my story.
Woo woo woo! Woo woo! Big thanks to Christine. What a story. What a story. Hey, Christine, why don't you put the links to those socials in the chat?
Sure, I will.
That might be a good. And if anyone wants to know the full download of Christine's story, she wrote this wonderful blog post. Oh shit, that's actually not the right one. Hold on one second. I'll post the right one in a second. But yeah, she wrote a good story, the full deep dive. Okay, I want to hand it over to Sharon. Do you feel ready to share, Sharon? Okay, and I have some pictures of Sharon's journey. Maybe you can introduce yourself and then I'll pull up the pictures. How does that sound?
Okay, yeah, that's all right. And we didn't take many pictures, so I just quickly sent those through to Savannah this morning. So I'm in a suburb of Perth, which is, in Western Australia. And I think I started doing this accelerator course because I've spent most of my life in country towns. And so I was missing that community aspect of, all the eccentric people and all the people, just every kind of people around you and knowing people in the street. So I decided to focus just on this area of my suburb, which has sort of natural boundaries to it. So there's maybe about 270 houses in this area. And I enlisted a friend to help and for moral support, and we door knocked the whole area to have an initial picnic and get everybody together. So there was a variety of responses to the door knocking. There was some a few people really keen, a lot of people like, oh yeah, that sounds kind of interesting, and then a couple of people that were absolutely not, don't want anything to do with this. And so that was, I'll come back to that in a minute because that kind of changed. So we ended up having a picnic, and I think Savannah's got a couple of pictures there. We expected maybe 20 people, if we were lucky, and we ended up with over 70, I counted, turned up, which was fantastic. And there was such a nice vibe at the picnic that, people reconnecting with others that they thought had left the area, people meeting new neighbours. It was just really nice, and wanting to have more catch-ups and things like that. So one of the things that happened when I was door knocking is a lady had said to me, nah, I'm not interested in meeting people anymore. But she happened to live right across the road from the park. So when she saw all the people, she came across, brought her neighbours across and had a fantastic time. And then she decided that their little initial, they normally have a Christmas party every year just with their immediate neighbours, and so they decided to open that up to everybody in our area. And so now currently I'm meeting up with her for coffees, and we've made flyers, we've delivered flyers and organising a Christmas thing. So this was someone that didn't want to meet her neighbours, and she's very involved now. And it's just really nice. And as I was delivering some of the flyers for the Christmas party, there was a guy who originally, when I delivered flyers, had very much said, not interested, and shut the door in my face. So I was like, I've made a mental note not to go back there again. Not out of any malice, just I didn't want to annoy him. But as I went around delivering my flyers, there was he was out in the garden, and I was thinking, oh, what do I do? Wasn't quite sure whether I should, deliver to his mailbox or what. But so I just called out to say hello, and he said, oh, are you the lady that's organising a Christmas party? Which I don't know how he knew, because it must have been through the grapevine he'd heard. And then we had a big long chat. Turned out he'd grown up on an island near where I had worked for quite a lot of time, so we had lots in common, and he just wanted to know what it was about. And he can't come because he's going to be away, but he was keen to be involved in any other things. So I just thought that whole, not to be discouraged by people that seem reluctant at first. I think maybe they just take a bit of time to warm up, or just to trust that your motive is pretty straightforward, that you don't have any hidden agenda. So that was good. And I was talking to Shani yesterday and just saying that I feel like when I'm walking around the streets at the moment and people are waving and saying hello and, volunteering to start, a book club or something else, just little things in the area. I just feel like they were just waiting. There was all these connections already in the neighbourhood, but they were just waiting for something to happen. And it's like they've all come to life, which is, it's been a great experience, and it's all motivated by this course because, yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. I also have this slide, and I wonder if you might share a few words about what happened over here.
Okay. So at the picnic, we just put up a big chart of for anyone to fill in anything they might be interested in doing together. So, and at first I thought, nah, they might just think it's silly, but it got so filled up that they had to keep writing up the sides and things. So we're going to follow up on those over the year, which will be really nice. And the other one was just us. Anne is my co-conspirator, the lady there. So she put up the sign in the park, and a lot of people saw that. So it was a kind of an effective invitation. Yeah, that's all.
Give it up for Sharon, everybody. What a story. Can you believe it? Sharon was a little shy to tell her story, and what an incredible storyteller she is. Hope I haven't outed you there, but it was such an amazing share, and I'm so grateful for you. I'll have the pleasure of meeting Sharon in about 40 days when I go to Australia, and I feel extremely excited for that. Okay, we have two more stories, and the next one is actually coming in the form of a video because our friend David, who is in Israel, is fast asleep right now, as he should be. Okay, so you all can see this. Great. I just want to intro this video a little bit because David's not here. So for all of you who don't know David, he lives in Haifa, Israel, and I'd love for you to just take a moment and imagine what it must be like to live in Israel right now and be trying to create a sense of community with your neighbors, with missile strikes from Lebanon. And he told me the other day that the missile strike warning alarm goes off between a few times a day and a few times a week. And they all have to leave their houses or their places of work and go to their local bomb shelter that's either in their building or a few blocks away. So just like imagine and try to conceive of the amount of trust that the average neighbor might have for someone else in that context. That gave me a lot of humility doing my own neighborhood work in Peachy Boulder, Colorado. So this is an incredible person who has done a lot of work to really earnestly show up for the people in his life, be they neighbors or friends. And yeah, he's definitely creating a great sense of community with his neighbors and his friends. He was a part of our first cohort back in the summer. And so he made a video for that call too, that story slam we did in the last cohort. So you'll see some references of like, remember how I made the first video? Well, now I'm making the second video. And I also just want to point out, there's one picture in the video where there's a bunch of backpacks, and you all may not know, but from David's story, he was trying to meet his neighbors back in the first cohort months ago, and he was really struggling to like get through to them because, as you would imagine, it's a bit harder to trust when there's a lot of different forms of threat around you constantly. And so what he did is he created these little backpacks with emergency supplies because he knew that everyone in his area would have to go a few blocks to get to a bomb shelter if a missile strike warning went off. So you'll see those backpacks, and he doesn't explain it enough, in my opinion, in the slides, and I just need you to know what those backpacks are about. Okay, let's watch the video. I need someone to tell me if you can hear the audio well enough on this, okay? So I'm going to turn it up, and we're going to see if it works. That work?
I can hear it, yeah.
Thank you.
אני אוהב למצוא את הרגע שלי לברוח, לנסוע יום-יומיים, לעבר תאים במוח. אני אוהב את הדרכים ואת הזמן שלי בחוץ, לילה בצפון, צימר בקיבוץ. אני אוהב להסתכל על החיים שלי מהצד, להבין שאני יודע גם לבד. אני אוהב את הצלילים החוזרים של העולם, 12 שניות לפני שנכנסים כולם. אני אוהב את הפנסים, את האורות ואת הידיים למעלה. אבל אחי אני אוהב לחזור הביתה, אחרי שלא הייתי כל הלילה. למצוא את השלווה שאני חי בה, לפשוט מעליי את החיים. איך אני אוהב לחזור הביתה, הלב של האישה שאני חי איתה, להחזיר את השפיות שלי אליי כבר, ואת כל הרגעים הרגילים. איך אני אוהב לחזור הביתה. את השקט, לשמוע את המציאות שותקת, נכנס לאוטו בלי כיוון, שם בוב מרלי הלקט. אני אוהב לנהוג דרומה, מצפה עד אילת, כביש 40 בלילה, נותן אחלה מפלט. אני אוהב את הגעגוע לכל מה שנעזב, זה עוזר לי להבין כלום לא מובן מאליו. אני אוהב את הנחמה שנתנה לי הבמה, כל הזדמנות שונה לפזר את הנשמה. אני אוהב את האנשים, את המשקות, אוהב את זה לאללה, אבל הכי אני אוהב לחזור הביתה, אחרי שלא הייתי כל הלילה, למצוא את השלווה שאני חי בה, לפשוט מעליי את החיים.
And that's David's video. Okay, give it up for David, here with us in spirit.
Wow.
Yeah, so good, so good. Yeah, anybody in the program, feel free to send David some love in our Telegram chat, because he's not here to receive it, but he's doing a lot of amazing work. Okay, so our last speaker is Shawnee Graham, who was my co-facilitator and mentor in the program. And I want her to share a quick story, and then we're going to dive into appreciating the folks who are here with our remaining time.
Hi everyone, so nice to share a couple of stories from the time that I've been doing this course. The first one really is about, and I just want to point out that the West Beaky Bunch has been going for since 2019, so about 5 years now. And we only have one meeting a year. This is a photo from our annual meeting that we had a couple of weeks ago.
Hey Shawnee, would you mind double clicking on it and then we can see it all blown up, because we just see your like kind of file system here.
Oh, I can see the whole thing.
Rats.
Damn.
Maybe try resharing in case it's the wrong app.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
That better?
Yes, perfect. Thank you.
Okay. So there we all are, and I actually had decided that this year we needed to slow down a little bit. I felt like we had so many things going on last year that it was getting a bit overwhelming. And a huge job to kind of just articulate to everyone what was going on and make sure people knew. But that was not to happen. So I won't go into details of how the meeting went, but this is the tribe that were there. There was another 10 people involved. So this year we have 38 activities planned for the whole of 2025, and 25 people are involved in organizing at least one thing. So it really does make it spread out with just what people are interested in, just even volunteering one event a year. And then another highlight for us, and this is the first time we've really done something like this, my partner and I had an open garden. We had about 600 people come through to look at our property. And the West Beaky Bunch lady called Helen decided that it would be nice to have cups of tea and coffee for people when they came through. So they organized a bit of a baking time. People donated either baked goods or they came and helped serve tea and coffee. And we raised about $1,300 for our local homeless shelter. So that felt really good to people to be able to actually participate in something a bit bigger than our own little neighborhood. But probably the highlight in the last 3 months for me has been, I know Kayla talks about lightning bolts and heartbeats. And so I've shared a couple of lightning bolts there with you. And what I'd like to share is a heartbeat. So for the last 5 years, we've been taking power for our local Christmas concert from a guy who lives right close to the park. And he's always been really generous in getting the power to our place for us to be able to organize that. but he's never come. And so I knock on the door every year and I say, can we have your power? And he says, yes, no worries. And I say, how about coming along? Oh, no, it's not a good time or whatever. He's an older man. He's 83. He's Japanese. He has a Russian wife who's about 60. And they're just, they're pretty quiet. Anyway, this year I had a bit of extra time, so I banged on the door with some of the leftover baked goods, actually, from the open day. And I said, just coming about power. And she actually said, oh, please, would you come in? And I just had the loveliest talk with them both. And she had recently been in hospital. They've been together for 30 years and they hadn't had a night apart in those 30 years. And so just to hear their story a little bit. And she said, I tell you what, I promise that I will come to the dinner this year. So it's bigger than 38 events. It's bigger than 25 people. It's those small little heartbeat things that really make this work what it is. So what I have, oh no, hang on, one more story. So yesterday we had a group of people at our house who were doing a event, and I was talking to them about the West Beaky Bunch, and they said, yeah, but this is all because of you. Like, no one else could do a story like this. It's all just down to you. And I said, well, actually have some news for you. And so I was able to talk about Cabin and talk about the Neighborhood Accelerator course and really share Sharon's story because it's such a local one for us. And so in finishing, I just want to say, I suppose, congratulations to everyone. We have a bit of a tradition in our house when something needs to be celebrated. I hope it's going to work. We always have sparklers.
Come on, sparklers.
Come on, everyone gets give the sparkler a little bit of energy there.
Can you rub your hands together for the sparklers? Yes!
Sparkler. Yay!
Woo! This is
woo! And I've just burnt my pants. Woo!
No!
So congratulations to everyone. And please, let's make sure we keep in touch. This journey is a long one. And it's important to continue to share the stories together. So thank you so much for all that you've done.
Woo! Put your hands up, y'all.
Thank you so much, everyone, for letting us witness your journey. This is so inspiring.
Woo! It's a beautiful thing. I really appreciate everyone in this course. And yeah, neighborhood building doesn't take 10 weeks. It takes years. So I'm excited to continue being on this journey with all of you. Yeah, love the sparklers. Thank you all so much. I think this is a good moment to just hand the microphone to anybody else. Does anyone have any appreciations or celebrations for what they heard? I'd be curious to hear from like Mitra, like you've been one of the folks watching all the stories. Like any final words as we close out?
It's just really inspiring. I mean, I've been doing community building for a while, and I was writing down lots of little tips and things that I want to remember, and just very touching to hear just the details of like caring for people, like one person at a time, like heart to heart. So I really appreciate that. It's inspiring to learn about this community.
Totally. Awesome. Well, let's call it there, y'all. Thank you so much, and have a beautiful evening, a beautiful morning for our Australian folks. Lots of love, and thanks for being with us.
Shout out to Savannah for bringing us all together tonight.
Thank you, Savannah.
It was a total pleasure. It was the most delightful thing in the world to get to see my dream be shared by so many people around the world. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye,
everyone.
y'all. Thanks, y'all.
Bye.
Good night. Good morning. See you later.